Canada didn't start anything. They had an average trade-weighted tariff of less than 1.5%. It seems like the only people dumb enough to actually try and defend Trump in his termination of Canada trade talks and the Ronald Reagan ad that was clear as day is Valuetainment. Here's the clip.
There's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
Protectionist.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
So that's what President Trump doesn't like. Go ahead, Tom.
So listen to what Reagan was saying. People have an idea to protect, and that leads to retaliation, and it leads to trade wars. So what Reagan was talking about is you need to get yourself competitive, and you have to be ready for a global economy. That's what Reagan was saying. Very clearly, he was saying, don't punch first with protectionist tariffs. But what is Trump doing? Canada seems to have a short memory on this. Trump is punching back against companies that have had tariffs and restrictions on the United States for years, decades. And so I think you have to look at both sides of it that way, Pat. That's what I think. You know, hard to pick on Trump when he is punching back and trying to level the playing field. You don't hear Trump using the word protection. You hear Trump using the word unfair. It's been unfair for too long. And I'm behind Trump on this one.
Apparently, Pat, the Reagan Foundation or the family, they're going to be looking into hopefully going after them because they used the video in a manner that wasn't what he actually said. But what they're trying to do, they're basically trying to discredit Trump and what he's doing with the policy. The foundation, like I said, I think, Rob, did the foundation say that they're going to go after him? It's like your neighbor is lying to your face. You don't renegotiate. You close the gate. Good for them.
All right, this is great. This is the first explanation or attempt at an explanation I've ever seen of someone trying to say this clip is taken out of context. So the argument is Reagan's saying protectionism is bad because it leads to retaliation, but if you are the one retaliating, then everything's all good, even though he never said that. Wait, what was the tariff regime before Trump's trade war in 2025? What was that set up by? Oh yeah, it was set up by USMCA. Wait, who signed that? That's Donald Trump. You know, Canada didn't start anything. They had an average trade-weighted tariff of less than 1.5% in 2022. They did not start. They have tariffs on us. We had tariffs on them. We had a tariff regime before Donald Trump came in. No one's arguing that. It's the tariff regime that was set up by Trump and Obama, really in USMCA and NAFTA, right? And by the way, the idea that Trump is not protectionist is stupid. He always talks about tariffs being good in and of themselves for industry, which is a complete misrepresentation of what tariffs actually do. Tariffs do not help industry. They decrease exporting industries in favor of necessity industries, right? You are sacrificing what you have a comparative advantage in for things that you do not have a comparative advantage in, therefore decreasing the real value of your industry on your homeland, whether that industry is service sector or financial sector or manufacturing sector, it doesn't really matter. You are getting value, manufacturing value from your competitive advantage. May it be Wall Street, may it be a service sector thing that does not produce a real good, but you are getting those real goods anyway through trade. So Trump is protectionist. He's saying he's saving jobs. The unions, support these tariffs. They support Trump to the capacity that they did because the tariffs would help some industries, and of course they'd hurt other industries there. Retaliatory tariffs do not make things even. They make things twice as worse, right? Even if Canada did start something, tariffs are always bilateral. It can hurt one nation slightly more than it hurts another nation, but for the most part, if the elasticities for each other's goods are relatively similar, which they tend to be, if you take a broad basket of goods exported and imported between countries, then the damages is equal no matter who pays the tariff. And if the imposing nation, right, imposing the tariff on its citizens, those citizens just pay the tariff tax, then the nation the tariff is on wouldn't even know that there's a tariff on them, right? The people just pay the tax. And this idea that they're going to go after the Reagan Foundation it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It blows my mind. What kind of basis could they possibly have? What are the damages also? I don't even know how they'd set up this litigation It's just completely beyond me. Like who's getting damaged from this? Who's getting defamed from this? Ronald Reagan certainly isn't, because he actually said that. No one's disputing that. They literally played an audio of him. Like it blows my, like, just like I played an audio of a Valuetainment video. Like, you could say I took what they said out of context because I left out the other 7 minutes of video, and maybe there's some better context there, but they still said what they said in the video that I played, and you're allowed to do that. That's how most media works. It's called fair use, but maybe they'll think of something. Trump's legal team is very, very creative. Good news is tariff nonsense with the Eurozone and with China is probably nearing an end. Trump has taken his 100% tariff completely off the table now. And Xi Jinping has promised that they will not use the export controls, even though the export controls realistically would have very little effect, right? It's just paperwork. Some European companies complain about the paperwork. They think that Beijing takes too long to process it. It's like, whatever. It's not a 100% tariff, right, on a level of, cracking down on trade. It's just China making sure its rare earths are not going to places that they don't want to go. They don't want them to go to, like enemy militaries or whatever, which is kind of reasonable. We would do the same thing if we had rare earths as well. And all of the Eurozone deals have been lackluster, but the good news is that there's no more escalation there. With China, they're probably going to get it solved because they've agreed to this framework that Trump announced when he took his trip to Malaysia to celebrate this useless ceasefire that he had between Cambodia and Thailand a few months ago. That was mostly mediated by Malaysia, but whatever, he takes credit for it. And then he got deals with both Cambodia and Thailand. But in that same trip, he did manage to get Xi Jinping to agree to a deal. More accurately, Xi Jinping managed to educate Trump on what he did with his licensing requirements for rare earths, and Trump realized what he was doing was entirely stupid. But at least he's not in the phase of just like complete insanity like he is with Canada right now. This is probably gonna go away with Canada too. Canada's more outrageous because the ad they showed with Reagan was obviously a good faith, and obviously used to be the conservative position, so it's just funny to see how people respond to it. But with other countries, it's like, at least you have a little bit of a pretense to be mad at China. You have no pretense to be mad at Canada or anyone in the Eurozone. I did also want to talk about the ballroom situation in the East Wing. Because I just see a lot of people saying that somehow what Trump is doing in the East Wing is illegal or not allowed. And the fact of the matter is the president has the authority to do really anything they want here. There's legal precedent for really all of this. The only thing is Trump is the only president who has done it in the way that he just did, an outright demolition without consulting with the necessary groups, historical preservation groups, to do so. But he does have the authority and jurisdiction to do that, just like other presidents have in the past. I think Eisenhower was, like, the post-World War II presidents were really fond of renovating the White House. But none of them have really done this level of demolition. And initially we were told that this wouldn't involve any demolition at all, and we were just going to be adding a ballroom. Most of the renovations have been additions, besides the structural reform, I believe, in the 1950s. But I don't know why, like, people on like CNN or the View are trying to make this seem like it's the end of the world. It's like a lot more significant things are happening. I could care less about a ballroom. To my knowledge, I don't think that any valuable historical, like, garments or whatever have been destroyed. I could care less, really.